Hello, everyone. I'm going to wait maybe a couple more minutes for more people to join, but thank you so much for being here tonight.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining again. We're going to wait a couple more minutes for more people to join. Um, yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. So my name is Ochuwa Garuba, and I'm a community engagement aide here at Leading Change Africa, and I'm really excited that you are here tonight. Seeing that we have a bit of a smaller crowd, I definitely think that we should get more community engagement going on. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the chat. We have six, rather five amazing panelists. We have Ferdinand, Selma, Aisha, Flore, and Josephine, and they were really kind in giving their time up tonight so that we can answer any questions that you guys might have. And so seeing that we have a smaller crowd, once again, please feel free to answer any questions or leave any questions rather in the chat. But let's get started. So would any of the panelists love to introduce themselves? I guess I can start. I'm a rising sophomore at Vanderbilt University, studying public policy with a minor in data science. Like I said, I'm the community engagement aide here at Leading Change Africa, and I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. And it's great to be here tonight.
I guess I can go next. My name is Aisha Kuma, and I'm from Burkina Faso. I just graduated from Madison College, and I'm planning to attend UW Platteville to do computer science.
I can go next. My name is Salama Balogun. I'm from Chicago. I am currently attending Stanford University with a major in computer science.
Hello everyone, my name is Josephine Tegawende Segrado and I'm from Burkina Faso. I'll be studying electrical engineering and technology this fall at Madison Area Technical College. It's nice to meet you.
Hi, my name's Ferdinand. I'm a junior at RIT studying management information systems, and I'm glad to be here.
Is that everyone? Can introduce themselves? Well, starting off with the first question, I think one thing that a lot of people would be really interested in figuring out is just why we all chose our respective colleges and what the process was for just generally applying and getting financial aid. Is that can be a really confusing part of the college admissions process. So essentially just why did you choose your college? And how do you think high school and just your prior education helped you get to where you are today? And any of you can start. I think I can start then. So like I said, I go to Vanderbilt University, which is in Nashville. I'm originally from Atlanta, so I knew I wanted to go to a school that was still somewhat close to home. It's about a 4-hour drive, so it's not very far. And then once again, since I'm studying public policy, I knew that I wanted to go to a university that offered that major and had programs that would allow me to network and then also take really awesome classes in public policy and then just be able to have a more collaborative student body that was also pretty interesting, what I was interested in too. I think also the data science minor is quite unique. And I think having that was a real plus because it's very interdisciplinary and it's a minor that allows me to have very much different options when it comes to whether I want to study politics or study policy analysis or anything like that. Anyone else want to go?
For me, I knew that I wanted to major in computer science, so I looked at schools that were good for CS. I didn't really look at schools that weren't known for CS or weren't really that great for CS because I didn't really like see the point of applying to a school that I probably wouldn't go to. I also applied to schools that where I knew I would get a really generous like financial aid package. Like I barely applied to schools where like they're known for not giving good aid because I knew I wouldn't be able to afford it. So I applied to like maybe 3 schools with like big endowments, but most of my list like composed of a lot of safety schools, like a lot of schools in my state where I knew I could probably get a lot of money. So those were like my two like primary factors in applying to colleges, like which schools are good for my major and then the financial aspect.
Yeah, for me, so I go to RIT. It's in Rochester, New York. I was really considering the culture and the diversity of the school. Um, I also wanted to have a specific kind of people that I wanted to be around with. So in my school, our interests, there's different kinds of people, but I found that the people I find or I meet up generally have similar things that I like, and also um there's also some more things that they can teach me. So having people that I can easily relate with was really helpful.
The reason why I chose UW Platteville is that it's an affordable school, and secondly, it's a quiet place where I can focus more than ever on my studies. And finally, I would say that it's the diversity. I also like the diversity. That's why I choose UW Platteville.
I think those are all really amazing points, and I think the diversity part is really, really huge.
Straightforward.
Right. And I think to Solomon's point too, I think oftentimes, at least in my position as a first gen or at least a low income student, I think a lot of income students automatically assume that a lot of these schools with big endowments are automatically more expensive. And what you actually find a lot of the time is that a lot of these schools with bigger endowments actually give better financial aid. And so sometimes they actually are cheaper than in-state schools, depending on your in-state scholarships and everything like that. So I think that's really something that you should look into if that's the situation you find yourself in. I think another question that many people would have is how do you make friends and how do you make meaningful connections in college? Especially if you go to school out of state or you go to school that's not in the same area that you grew up in. How do you make those kind of meaningful connections and those lifelong friends, as many people would say? Does anyone want to start?
I can start. I know that was probably one of the scariest things about like going to college, like finding your people. And like in my case, I was going across the country and all of my friends were like either staying in state or in that area. So I definitely felt alone at first, but I feel like once you try to go and speak like cultural background and your interests, that's where you start to find friends. Like for example, before school even started, like during the summer, I know like a lot of the Black like incoming frosh, like we had a group chat, like we made an Instagram page, and like the African students as well. Like we tried to kind of like connect with each other on social media, especially the girls. Like we really tried to connect with each other because there weren't that many of us. So once we got to campus, we were already familiar with each other. Like, hey, like, are you so and so like on Instagram? And so like, and I still like we're still friends like right now. Like I really do like kind of contribute like most of my friends coming from social media like right before school started, and we're all like from similar backgrounds. So I think that's just really important. Like try to be in spaces where you guys share the same cultural background, especially since like we're a minority at a lot of these schools. So I feel like it's easier for us to like connect and understand each other. And then like also like joining clubs of your interests. Like I just started dancing like earlier this year. So I'm pretty much like a novice, but I made some friends in the dance club as well. So like just spaces like that where you'll spend more time with people. Also your dorm. Like I didn't expect to make friends in my dorm, but I did. So I don't know, a lot of unexpected places and just try to put yourself out there. I can be a really shy person, but I kind of had to push myself to like make these connections, and it ended up being worthwhile.
Yeah, for me, most of the people I still talk to today are people I've met through orientation week, the first week of freshman year. So it's been like 3 years now, but I still talk to the same people, and I've found helpful to uh talk to the people in my classes too, especially in the core classes. So for example, if you're a CS major, computer science, then I would try to discuss topics or lessons with other CS students in the same class. Most of my friends are also from the program, and also I joined the volleyball intramural. I found that really to be fun, like something I can just do for fun, but also get to know other people who enjoy the same thing. So really finding your interest and just trying to join something related to that really helps.
Uh, for me, I would say that I didn't have many friends at school, but uh, from what I know, one of the main thing to building a good connection with others is to really respect each other's differences and also learn to respect each other's opinion. That's how you build friends.
For me, I'm new here. Then most of my friends are those people in the same program. At school also, I think those people with whom I'm playing volleyball and attending the classes when I was at Wesley. I'm trying to be together and have good time, and I build a friendship with them. There, it's I'm new. That's why I don't have many friends right now.
And I think too, as someone who didn't necessarily find their friends until second semester of school, I think, you should never panic if you don't find your friends immediately once you get to campus. If and I think also it's never weird or it's never odd to ask someone out just for lunch or for coffee. I think that's something I didn't realize until the second semester because I thought it was just kind of weird to ask someone I didn't really know very well for lunch. But you can really meet some really great people, and just even if they're not necessarily friends, it's really great to ask upperclassmen who maybe are in the same major as you or doing something that you're really interested in. Maybe they're in a club that you're really interested in joining. Always, never be afraid to ask someone out for lunch or for coffee. And that's a really great way to just connect with people in general. I think another question I have is, of course, balancing extracurriculars, your classes, personal life can all be really challenging. So how do you all manage your time, and how do you all just manage the stress of it all, especially during the college admissions process and your transition to college?
Yeah, so
I
for
would
me, I found that for my freshman and sophomore year, I was wasting a lot of time. What I found helpful was to use Google Calendar to keep track of all my classes and schedules and different activities, and having a uh, task list. So I used to write it on my notebook, but because I had more responsibilities, I found it helpful to just use a digital one on my laptop to just type out, okay, this is what I need to do for this deadline. And for this semester, this fall semester, I'm going to be having a lot of stuff to do. I'm having 3 jobs, 5 classes that are going to be so difficult. But I think that compared to the past 2 years, for me, I really like to be productive. And whenever I leave time where it's just like open time, I tend to slack a lot and be lazy. So what I'm trying to do is fill up my time more and make sure I have my day-to-day planned out better so I can make sure that I'm being productive and on task as much as possible. And I don't suggest having like 3 jobs for your first semester or anything. Um, it's really just helpful for me to have different activities to do so that I can reset my thinking and I'm not always studying all the time because that can burn you out too. So really making sure that you're balancing an activity, but you're also doing something else so that you don't spend too much time on one thing, but you can let your brain think differently every so often.
I would say like my worst enemy is like procrastination. So like the only way I noticed that when I got to college that like where I was studying really mattered. Like it made such a huge difference because whenever I was in my room, I didn't get anything done. I would sit at my desk and like I would be there for multiple hours and I was not getting anything done. But then I realized like once I left the room, like just sitting outside, like just going to different like spaces, you will get stuff done. And I noticed that. So like I don't know, don't underestimate the power changing your environment. So like between classes, like I would purposely like walk a little farther to like some bench and like get stuff done. Like just things like that. That will help you like balance your time. And like Ferdinand said, like Google Calendar and like having a task list, like just organizing yourself, that's gonna be like really helpful when it comes to balancing things.
For me, I would say the first thing to do is to yeah, use Google Calendar. I also use Google Calendar and plan things ahead of time so that you know which task needs to be done which day, and then something like really plan things ahead of time.
About time management, I would say that you have to use Google Calendar, as they already said, and also try to have a written schedule where you can put everything you have to do there and have priorities, because sometimes you don't have time to do everything, but if you have priorities, you can know which one you have to do at which moment, and you will be okay with the time management.
Yeah,
Those are
also,
really great points. Sorry, you can go ahead.
yeah, one last thing I want to point out is a technique I found useful is called the Pomodoro technique. So the way it works is you set 25 minutes to complete a certain task, and then after that you set a 5-minute timer so that you can take a break. So what you're doing there is you're setting yourself up to uh specified times where you're able to focus more. So you tell yourself to focus for the 25 minutes, and then you let yourself take a 5-minute break so that you can reset and make sure that your brain isn't getting fumbled or you aren't getting too lazy. So it's a way to make sure you rinse and repeat that you're being focused for specific time intervals. And I found that really just setting times for myself to do a specific activity in general also helps. So I think that's like one of my best techniques that I do.
Those are all really great pieces of advice. I would agree with basically all, but use Google Calendar. The Pomodoro method is also really useful. I typically actually will study for about 45 minutes and then take a 10-minute break. But of course, you can kind of change the study to break ratio as you would like. Another thing I do, and this is kind of embarrassing, but another thing I do is I actually tend to schedule my classes so that I have like an awkward break in between them. So let's say I have like an hour break between two classes. That way I can't really go to my room and just like slack off and not really do anything. I kind of am forced to be a little bit more active during that break and study or use that time effectively, because I can't just go to my room and like lounge around, because it's not like a long enough period of time for me to even go back to my room in the first place. So also figure out what schedule works for you. Are you more of a morning person? Are you more of a afternoon person in terms of your productivity? And try to schedule your classes around that. I think we actually have a question, so feel free to unmute your mic. Or you can put the question in the chat too. For the sake of time, I will move on to the next question. But once again, feel free to raise your hand or leave questions in the chat as necessary or as wanted. So my next question is basically,
Can I ask my question? Sorry.
yes, yeah, of course.
So this is for Ferdinand. He said that he's gonna have 3 jobs this coming fall. So I'm a little bit interested because me too, when I leave too much time between my tasks, I tend to slack off and not do things that I'm supposed to be doing. But the fact that he said he has 3 jobs, I'm asking, like, do you have a specific number of hours when, let's say, you say, I'm gonna work 20 hours this week, and then you split the 20 hours between the 3 jobs, or how does it work for you?
Yeah, so who's talking, by the way?
Kendricks.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, so I do have there is a 20-hour limit for our school too for each week. But how it works is I have 2 on-campus jobs and I have one other contractor kind of job with a business that works with our school. So I'm technically going to be doing 20 plus like extra. But what I have is 2 on-campus jobs that are very simple. So I do say 3 jobs, but I work at the library and I do have a tutoring job. So uh even though it's 20 hours, I would say that the jobs I have are specific that I have time to do homework and that time is due. So those 2 jobs are very open and they give me a lot of flexibility on when I want to work. So with the library, I can easily set my schedule anytime throughout the week, and my supervisor is very generous with schedule when you can schedule it. And also, sorry, what was your question? I think I'm the
I
answer.
was just asking if you have a specific amount of hours where
Oh,
you'll be like, I'm gonna work this amount of hour per week, but then split it between your three jobs.
okay, yeah. So let me just jump to that. Yeah, so I do have a specified amount of hours. So for the library, I'm going to be working 12 or 14, 16 hours a week. And then for the second job, I'm going to be working about around 4 hours. And then my third job is more flexible in that I don't need to go anywhere. It's remote,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still on campus sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is those jobs like that. I just have to sign in on a timesheet on what activity I do and how many hours I set on that. So I encourage you all to just find those very flexible jobs, and
Mm-hmm.
especially ones that let you do homework or other stuff while you're there, because it just saves you more time to you get paid to do your work pretty much. It's very like
Mm-hmm.
time efficient.
Thank you.
And just for the I think people will benefit from this question. What timeline did you go about finding those jobs? Like when did you find them? When did you look for them? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so I found it to be helpful to start looking for jobs a month before school starts. Uh, Unless you're trying to work for dining, which is very busy and doesn't give you much leeway. I think that's the only job you'll end up finding if you look in the middle of the semester, in the middle of the year. Um, so definitely start looking at the job postings a month or 2 months before, and then you'll gradually see it popping in, like what kind of jobs are available. And you may even be able to reach out to the supervisor and tell them you're very interested in this position, and just get a human touch to your application.
Awesome. I think another question that people might have is just in general, what advice do you have for crafting a compelling college essay? I know some people might be transferring to four-year institutions here. So what advice do you have for crafting a compelling essay that can really get your foot in the door? Um, and what advice do you have for just navigating the process in general? I can start. I think when it comes to crafting a compelling essay, I think oftentimes a lot of people try to write what they think the admissions officers want them to say or want to hear, rather than their authentic voice and what they think will just most likely just more so best capture their own personality, if that makes sense. So I think, you should always think outside the box and you should never try to cater your essay to what you think someone might want to hear from you rather than what, you actually want to say.
For like the personal essay, I know for that, I didn't talk about my academics at all. I definitely talked about something that was really personal to me and was really important to shaping like who I was. And like even when you choose a topic like that, it also makes it very easy to write as well. Like I was writing so much that it took me a long time to cut it down to like the word count. So I feel like when it comes to the personal essay, actually be personal and don't like use it to kind of say like, oh, like I'm really good in school, so like let me in, because I feel like there's other like parts of your application where you can showcase that, and the personal essay it really is meant to be personal. And then for like the other like supplemental essays, for that I would say like do a lot of research, because I did a lot of research on like supplemental essays for a lot of the colleges I was applying to. Like, what exactly are they trying to like get out of you through this question, if that makes sense? Because some of the questions are weird. Like, they'll be like, oh, like, I think this was like a USC supplemental question. It was like, what celebrity would you want to like room with? Like questions like that. Like you think like, oh, like what in the world? But like I would look into these questions. I'm like, okay, they're asking this, like, what are they looking for? Because they're not just asking it for no reason. They're trying to get something out of you. So I would like try to look up like what schools are looking for in an applicant. And I would just kind of like, I would still be authentic in what I was writing, but I would create it in a way where I would try to like kind of show like, yes, I am the person that you're looking for. So I feel like just do a lot of research, like do a lot of research. I think I started doing research like junior year because I was determined to get a full ride somewhere, y'all. So I started doing my research early because I knew I couldn't afford college. So yeah, research. Yeah.
And what I'll say about that too is definitely when it comes to college admissions essays, oftentimes if you search up like Stanford supplemental essay or Harvard supplemental essay, oftentimes there's example essays that come up. So don't be afraid to search up essays for specific schools as an example. Obviously don't copy them, but use it as a guide, especially early on in the process if you just have no idea where to start. And have people read over your essay if you want. Don't have too many eyes, right? Because you want to make sure that your authentic voice is still showing through, but make sure you have, maybe at least people that you trust reading the essay. Does anyone else have anything else to add? If not, we can go to the next. Ferdinand, you have a
Yeah,
point?
I think what I realize is sometimes when I like talk to people I know who are trying to apply, they say that they don't have a story they can tell, but I think um you have to look really hard on what you can tell. So there's stories about like things, moments where you feel embarrassed or feel afraid. I think like those kinds of moments are really crucial to showing how what kind of person you are. So being more vulnerable it to with your personal essay. I think especially those kinds of moments, you can really highlight um what makes you as a person, what you value. So if you're embarrassed about, not being the same as the people around you, it really shows that that's something that you're trying to work on, or because you're trying, yeah, pretty much be vulnerable is my advice.
That's really good advice. And Monet, Ashley, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. I want to know how many people at least you think it's good for you to give your essays for them to review.
So for me personally, my personal essay actually did not have anyone read it. It was very personal and honestly, I kind of wrote it last minute, so I don't think I could really give it to anyone to really review it anyway. But for my other essays, I think I had like maybe two or three people. I had my 12th grade economics teacher who I had worked with on several different things all throughout high school. And then I had at least like one other teacher or two other teachers read it, and then also a friend read it. So not many people. I don't know if anyone else had anything else to add to that question.
Yeah, same for my personal essay. I think I had like my trio counselor read it. I think that was about it because like Ochuwa was personal, so I didn't like want so many people to read it. For the supplemental essays, I think because I kind of did them last minute too, and there were a lot. I don't think I had too many people read them. I think I let my parents read them, but yeah, don't do it last minute, guys. But yeah.
No, learn from us. Don't do it last minute.
Just sorry for that.
No worries. Thank you for the question. Um, my next question is, of course, securing financial aid and scholarships is, of course, really important for college, to attend college, especially for a lot of low-income students. So I just want to know, what was your advice for navigating that process? How did you find scholarships? What was your timeline for applying to scholarships? I know at least for me, for Nana Solomon, we're all Jack and Cook college scholars. And so I know we have some stuff to add to that question. If any of you want to start.
I would say again, research. Research a lot because when it comes to like financial aid, like some of these schools can be really, really greedy. So I think I applied to like, okay, so like I applied to schools where in the case that I didn't get any outside scholarships, I would still be able to attend. I think there was one school that I applied to where like I'm like I don't know why I applied because they don't give any money, but yeah, for that like I that's why I said earlier I definitely like focused on schools where if I didn't have any money coming in from the outside, I would still be able to afford it. But I still applied to like outside scholarships as well. I kept looking up like scholarship programs for first gen low income students, minority students. This I just kept looking up all the different possible scholarships. I know like in my community, like we had like small dollars scholarships, I would apply to those as well. Like, just don't stop applying to scholarships, because I know like some of the applications can be really, really annoying, and they ask for a lot, but just don't give up. Like, just, you have to keep writing the essays. Like, there's no limit to the amount of scholarships you can apply to, honestly. I feel like the sky's the limit, and just keep researching on what you can apply to, and just keep applying to them, because something gotta, click. So just apply to a lot.
Absolutely. I think I have 2 points. My first point is don't be afraid to go to your school's counseling center. I know for at least my school, they had a lot of those smaller scholarships in a different, like a monthly bulletin that they would release. And so a lot of those scholarships that aren't as easily Googleable, if that's even a word, they had that like a monthly bulletin at the counselor's office. And so that made my life just a lot easier, because I didn't have to, go through these like abstract, really like just crazy avenues to find some of these smaller scholarships. And then my second point, I forgot my second point. My second point, oh yeah, my second point is to don't not be afraid to reuse your college essays for scholarships. Oftentimes these essays are like just super like just detail oriented, and they're very specific, but some of them are also just very vague, and you can definitely just kind of rework your college essays. And so don't be afraid to just kind of just, edit them, touch them up, to cater to each scholarship without having to write a whole new essay, because I know that can be really frustrating.
Yeah, I want to add on to that. Always have before you submit, always make sure that you have a copy of your essay or responses to an application. You always want to save those, because often you'll see that other applications will have similar questions, and we want to save time, because we want to apply to as much as possible. So we could just reuse them by reformatting or adding stuff and modifying it. A couple more things I want to add are, there's a lot of websites like College Board that have in the website implemented like a scholarship search. There's many kinds of websites like that now, but I also want to warn you to be careful. You never have to pay for these websites or to apply to a scholarship. If you ever encounter a situation like that, it may be more of a scam, and I've seen many like that, because they're trying to, you're trying to just make money, but they also want to get money off of you. So I would say those are very risky. Be careful what you're looking at. Make sure when you see the scholarship, uh, try to find if it's publicly available or if there's news available for it. You could also reach out to other recipients on what they did. That's something I've done before, and it was just really great to hear advice from them on what their process was to applying, um, because everyone has different stories, but sometimes there's like a commonality where you'll find that so long as you follow some kind of formula, you should be able to get some sort of response or feedback. So really, yeah, keep a list of how many you're applying to. You could do, 10 a day that you're applying to. Just don't stop not applying, and yeah, you'll hit something for sure.
And Faith asked in the chat, outside of Jack and Cook, what other scholarships did you get? And if you don't mind naming them. I personally only received, I believe, one other scholarship. I mean, I received the Questbridge National College Match Scholarship, which is its own different process. But I received it was like a clothing scholarship. I believe it's for local residents though. It's called P Fashions, if you're interested. I got a lot of professional clothes from that. And I found that out through, once again, my counseling office, just a local resource. So definitely, once again, check out your counseling office or career center or whatever you have to check out some of those scholarships. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add.
In addition to the Jack and Cook scholarship, I also got the Gates scholarship, which is kind of like, the process is a little similar to Jack and Cook, and like the criteria is kind of similar in a way. And it's also kind of like Jack and Cook, where it's like, I think what's Jack and Cook's like yearly limit? I think it's like 55K. I think Gates is unlimited, but like I feel like in those aspects they're kind of similar. But those were the only two that I got.
Yeah, the other scholarships, I only had one other like big one. It was the National Honor Society. I had a scholarship for that. But that was for high school. And then most, like, I think I got three other ones that were from just local. So it was roughly $1,000 or less. So I found out about those from my school at the end of the year. They had they sent us information about available local scholarships because the organizations near you definitely have scholarships that they're holding. So mine was about education related, and they're looking for STEM students who wanted to apply. And it was a brief, I think 500-word essay. You submit that and you're all set. And honestly, those kinds of applications are the easiest, so definitely apply to those.
And what I'll add as well is that what I'll add is that there's also a lot of more so, I would say, mentorship programs where they offer like a small stipend, but that's not necessarily the point. The main purpose of those programs is for mentorship and guidance throughout the college admissions process. So don't be afraid to check those out as well because they can be extremely valuable. And I know people who just gained a lot from those programs. Some of the programs I'm thinking of are Thrive Scholars, the LEDA program, LEDA, Hamilton Scholars, and then there's also various other scholarships like around Brown, like Somewhat Said, Gates, Coca-Cola, and those some of the bigger scholarships. So some of those programs are more like mentorship based, or more so that you apply like your junior year of high school or early senior year maybe. But don't be afraid to apply for those as well because they offer really good opportunities. They sometimes offer you the ability to fly out and stay at a college campus like Princeton or U Chicago, and they offer a lot of really free, great opportunities for you to learn more about the college admissions process. We have a question in the chat from Love. Any advice on writing intriguing college essays to send out to admissions officers? I don't know if you had anything else to add to that question. I think for me, besides what I mentioned earlier, I think also trying to make it so that, because of course in college admissions essays, you can never write everything, right? They have a certain limit of characters you can write. So you can never talk about everything in your life, right? So make sure that you're basically keeping a personal narrative that you want to demonstrate to college admissions officers. So for example, if you're someone who did a lot of STEM activities in high school and you want to major in neuroscience in college and you want to really portray yourself as someone who's really passionate about STEM, neuroscience, healthcare, then make sure you kind of cater your college essays towards that. Of course, you can talk about essays, talk about things in your essays that are not directly related to that. And of course, I encourage you to do so, right? So that you're not seen as so one-dimensional. But make sure that you kind of have a more so of a focus when you're writing your college essays. A spike, as it's called many times in college admissions jargon. But that just really means like having a certain passion, a certain lens you're trying to cover. Because essentially with college admissions officers, they're trying to more so create a cohesive class of students. And so they want to cover students from all different walks of life and backgrounds and things like that. So yeah. And I'll definitely type the name of the other scholarships and programs shortly. In the meantime, I'll move on to the next question. My next question is just, what are some of the effective study techniques that you've used to succeed in high school and college?
For me, I feel like it's different for every class, and I'm not gonna lie, I still haven't developed one universal studying technique, but in college it's very, very different from high school, and I learned that real quick, and I realized that for each class, you kind of just have to, like, I feel like in the first 3 weeks, you're just gonna have to figure out how the class is kind of like structured, and that will help you figure out how to study. Like, I know for math, I was like, I don't like know how to study. Like what I was doing in high school was not cutting it in college. And then I realized that like going through the textbook and like basically reteaching myself the material and doing practice problems, that definitely helped. For computer science, like coding classes, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still figuring that out, but I feel like with that, definitely a lot of practice. So yeah, I feel like it definitely just depends on the class, but also like getting like having friends in those classes will help you develop like studying habits. Like I know a lot of my CS lectures, they're really big. So I think like once or quarter, for some reason, everybody in my dorm were all taking the same class at once. So like we would hang out in the lounge, and that's like some people would be like, oh, this is what I do to help myself like do better on the midterm. Like I did this and I did way better on the midterm. So then I would develop like those studying habits. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, so besides the Pomodoro technique, some other things I do, I found it. So I used to in class, I would try to write down everything my professor would say, and that's really not the best way you could do it, uh, especially if they go fast. I found that just writing the key topics they go over, and if there's a textbook, I would just reread it there as fast as possible, and then just try to articulate it and explain it to myself. So there's something called rubber duck debugging in computer science, and pretty much what you do is try to explain to a rubber duck, if you have an issue, or try to say what you're trying to think about if it's something difficult. Um, there's also a way to like try to explain a difficult concept to like a 5-year-old. So trying to break it down as much as possible so that it's something that you're able to understand very easily. Um, Also, I use a lot of post-it notes to really just remind myself that this is the topic for the class, that I need more work with. Um, since I often forget what I need to study, or I often forget what I'm not good at. So really just prioritizing that, okay, you're good at this topic already, so let's not put as much time in that compared to this topic. So yeah.
And what I'll say for myself that has been very useful is just going to office hours. I think that's like a very, basic piece of advice, but it works, trust me. I've had classes where like the professor, I went to the office hours like so often to the point where the professor like even bumped my grade. And I saw my grade, I was like, I don't think I did that well in the final, but like it's because I went to office hours and that's why my grade was higher because I was able to build a relationship with the professors. And not only does that help with, of course, like potentially boosting your grade, but also helps with developing the relationship so that they can write you recommendations. I think that's something that is somewhat overlooked because oftentimes people only go to professors when they need something and they don't build that relationship over time. And so starting that in the beginning of going to office hours, asking for help, even if you don't even have like a genuine question and you just, you kind of ask them more of like a fluff question of like, well, you know, I can't think of any other top of my head, but like just going to office hours and not only going there for studying, but also going there to build a relationship with your professor is really, really useful. And then one of my last questions, if not my last question, is just what are some of the key lessons that you learned throughout your educational career that you had wished you had known earlier? I think for me, probably it would be like asking for help, and just overall networking with people. I think I always knew that networking was something that you should do, but I didn't really know how to do it effectively or how to maintain different connections. And so what I've tried to do is just, talk to people, even if they're not studying something exactly what I'm studying, just picking their brain a little bit, asking, how they got to certain positions that they're at right now. Um, and just kind of figuring out what path they did, um, is really important, something that I try to do. If any of our other scholars who are on the panel want to answer this question or any of the previous questions, then they can do so as well.
Yeah, for me, two important things I learned is that, so when you come into college, you're applying for a certain program, but somewhere along the way you find that that isn't what you wanted to do, and that's completely fine. For me, I was originally computer science for 2 years, but then I realized uh just reading theory and like learning about the terminal isn't exactly fun, and that's not what I want to do. So I switched this past semester to management information systems, which is more business, finance, and technology focused. There's still programming involved, but it's more relevant to what I'm trying to explore for my career. And the other key point is it's not the end of the world if you don't get the grade you want for your class. I think uh, I'm an overachiever. I really like getting an A, seeing the A, but it's not the end of the world if if you fail a class or you don't get the A that you want. There's still it might be upsetting for like for the next week or two or three, but in the grand scheme of like 5 years, it's not that big of a deal. So really just framing how important something is to you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm also an overachiever, and college has definitely humbled me when it comes to like grades. And I feel like just, realizing that it's really not that serious, that definitely helped. I know my first quarter, I was being really dramatic. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna change my major then. Like, I guess I'm not cut out for it. But like a week passed, I'm like, wow, I'm being really dramatic because I feel like if you really want to do that certain like major or you have like certain aspirations, don't let like one class derail you if you know you actually want to do it. Like it really is just a grade. Like it's really just a grade. And also don't be afraid to change your mind. Like I know in high school, for some reason I was really stuck on medicine. I don't know if it's like my parents, I wanted to fulfill their, we came to America and our daughter became a doctor. And I was really scared to change that dream because I feel like for the longest I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to become a doctor, I'm going to be a surgeon. And then it wasn't until later in high school that's when I was like, oh, I'm going to do CS, because I was like, I really don't like biology like that, and I can't force myself to like it. So I feel like just not being afraid to like think about what you want to do and what you think will make you successful. Like just do what you truly want to do. Like don't do anything that will like to try and like please other people. So yeah.
And I just want to add quickly that I definitely had a very similar experience. I thought I was going to do neuroscience, and then I was like, I'm going to do biomedical engineering. And then I dropped both of those, and now I'm public policy. So definitely do what you want to do, and make sure that whatever you're studying is something that you're genuinely passionate about. I don't know if any of the panelists, these scholar panelists, have any similar experiences or anything that they want to share. But for now, I definitely want to let Kendricks have the floor to ask her question.
So I have a question concerning networking. You mentioned that you knew that it's something that is important that you definitely needed to do, but didn't know how to do it. I wonder if you read books, or was it just like talking to people, like forcing yourself to talk to as many people as you can and trying to learn from them? How did it work for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm still learning that myself. I think that networking is top of mind right now just because I recently came from a conference, actually part of the LIDA Career Institute program that I just sent earlier in the chat. So it's a really great program and I recommend that you check it out. But to answer your question directly, I think for one, I had a LinkedIn account and I made that account. And so I think that kind of I allowed myself through LinkedIn to kind of just check people out that I'm interested in terms of their careers, and then just figure out how they got to where they are. I think what's really interesting about LinkedIn is that you can see everyone's experiences on there. So you can see, okay, how did someone get to their product manager position at Google, and see all their previous experiences. So I think just messaging people on LinkedIn, especially if they are alumni of your school, I think it's a lot easier to connect with people that you already have some kind of connection with than just like messaging strangers. For lack of better terms. So definitely like try to see people on LinkedIn that if you haven't made an account already, make an account, figure out people who you're interested in terms of just figuring out, their careers and things like that. And just messaging them, especially once again if they're alumni of your school, and figuring out, how did you get to where you are. I think another thing, like I said earlier, don't be afraid to ask people for lunch or for coffee. Oftentimes I think these are called like informational interviews, but they're also just called career chats, or coffee chats. So don't be afraid to ask someone out for lunch or coffee to once again pick their brain, and figure out, how they got to where they are. And I would say my final point is once again, check out your school's career center or counseling office. or something along those lines to figure out any opportunities that there are for networking, conferences, etc. And I guess a bonus point is to check out any mentorship programs or career programs that are available. I don't know if anyone has anything else to add to that.
Yeah, definitely make a LinkedIn. For those who for those of you who don't have them yet, it's really helpful, like Ochuwa said. And another thing I want to say is that for me, I'm really quiet. I don't really talk that much, but uh it's really helpful to just have a chat with your classmates. That's still some form of networking, because in the future they may be in a position where they're in a job where you want to go there, and they may bring up to you, hey, we have this opening. And also just I also read a book a few years ago called How to Make Friends and Influence People. I think it was by Dale Carnegie, and it really talks about the key points that you can best interact with other people so that you're presenting yourself in the best way possible. I read that a few years ago, and it still influences a lot of the things I do with how I interact with professionals and how I want to be seen. Um, I'm not perfect at all, but I'm still making that progress. So really just trying to chat with as many people as you can. And just really, yeah, there's no way other to say it than, force yourself to really try it.
Thank you.
And what I'll say too is also when it comes to networking, always start with people that you already know. And so when it comes to people like Uzman or Faith or people who are already a part of this Leading Change Africa organization, don't be afraid to reach out to them and figure out if they know people that can help you advance your career or educational journey or things like that. Because you never know who people might know, and that person might be able to give you a job or an internship opportunity or something like that, right? So just start people that you know and start small. Networking doesn't have to be this like really big, scary thing. Yeah. And if anyone doesn't have any more questions, I believe, well, let's see. Does anyone have any more questions? That's where I should start. You can leave it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and unmute your microphone. Or if any of our panelists have anything else to add, that would also be amazing. Well, seeing that there's no other points, I think Faith will be sharing her screen and doing the drawing, if I'm not mistaken.
Hey, good evening, everyone. For those who participated in majority of tonight's session, just want to say a big thank you for coming out. Those who joined earlier on and stayed for a good bit of the session, their names were entered into our drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and 2 individuals will be selected for a gift card. We have Uzman. So congratulations to Usman. You won a $25 gift card. And let's see who's left. And congratulations to Ashley. You also won a $25 gift card. Again, thank you to all of you who came in and joined us, asked questions, and participated. We really appreciate interacting with you all, and we look forward to your future endeavors and all that you're going to accomplish. Thank you and have a great night.
Thank you all so much for your time and for coming out. I don't know if any of our panelists want to leave their emails or anything in the chat. If anyone has any other questions. Well, you all are free to go if you want. So yeah, thank you all again for coming out. I'm going to leave my email in the chat if you have any other questions. And any of our panelists can do the same if they want to, if they feel comfortable doing so. But that is the end of our town hall meeting, back to school Q&A meeting. So have a nice night, everyone, and thank you all again for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye everyone.
Thank you.